Hi guys. I know I said I wanted to be back today, but sometimes what we plan and what actually happens are two different things. I guess that's kind of like how I feel. So you feel how I feel when you say you're going to turn in a paper and it never shows up. Kind of the same feeling. It's not fun. Anyway, so I apologize again for not being here, and I won't be here tomorrow either, on Friday. And so it's an entire week that I've been out, and I feel really, really badly. But like I said, sometimes life happens. I just want to give you a real quick rundown, in case you haven't heard. I have shingles, which you would normally think happens in 60-year-old people. Nope, I'm 31 and I have shingles, and it's not necessarily a contagious bad thing, except it's very, very painful, and there's lots of other weird things that come with it. But the point of the story is it's very, very, very uncomfortable, and I was planning on coming back because, the pain was kind of subsiding and things were kind of getting under control. And then last night, my youngest, Larzy, ended up with 104.5 degree fever. He's been running fevers. He's been throwing up. So on top of everything else, now my kids are sick. Well, at least one of them, which probably means the other one will be sick in the near future. So I cannot apologize enough for the fact that I'm not there, but we're just going to have to put on our big kid pants and keep on trucking. All right? So, oh, and before we get any further, happy St. Patrick's Day. For those of you who decided to wear green, this is my green. And I had a big St. Patrick's Day spiel plan that I normally talk about, but that's not happening this year. So we're moving on with our worlds. All right. So yesterday we left off with the big, oh my gosh, I can't believe Magwitch is the benefactor mind bomb, right? So we are now going to pick up on chapter 39. And I'm going to summarize 39 and 40 for us, and then we're going to pick up on 41 because 41 is a really important chapter. So, 39, Pip's still trying to wrap his brain around this whole shindig. He and his convict kind of start talking, and Pip's like, I don't even know your name. And the convict says, my name is Magwitch. So there you go. That's our last Facebook post person, Magwitch, who is Pip's convict. So Magwitch is his name. But he doesn't think that Pip should call him Magwitch because he's essentially a wanted man. He wasn't supposed to come back to England. So he doesn't want Pip to call him Magwitch. So they decide that Pip should call him Uncle Provis. So that's kind of who he will be throughout the rest of the story. He'll interchange between Uncle Provis and Magwitch. So they kind of go through, and Magwitch confirms that he was, in fact, sent away to a penal colony. But then he came back, and he hooked back up with Jaggers. And I guess in the trial that his very first trial that got him put on the ships, his lawyer was Jaggers. Jaggers couldn't do anything to help him. He tried, but he understood that Jaggers was a very good lawyer and a very reliable lawyer. So he decided to choose Jaggers, and then, clearly no ill will, then went back when he came back and contacted Jaggers again to hook up this whole idea with Pip. Okay? So then Pip goes and says, I gotta go talk to Jaggers. Runs and talks to Jaggers, and Jaggers refuses to acknowledge that Magwitch is back because he doesn't want to know. I don't want to know, because if someone asks me, I want to say, I don't know. So instead, they kind of talk in hypotheticals. Hypothetically, if you spoke to someone who heard from Magwitch that blah, 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 and they kind of beat around the bush, because, like I said, Jaggers knows the law and doesn't want to be held accountable for knowing that Magwitch is back. But in this conversation, Magwitch does confirm that he was in cahoots with Magwitch in getting Pip as his benefactor, being Magwitch. And he also kind of says, it's not my fault. You thought it was Miss Havisham. And Pip kind of says, yes, you did. You encouraged it. And he's like, no, I didn't. I'm sorry if you thought that was the case, but I didn't. So I just kind of did what I was told and let you believe whatever you felt like believing. So Pip feels a little bit hurt by that. And then at the end of chapter 37, Herbert comes back, and Pip's like, Herbert, hi, this is my Uncle Probus, a.k.a. Magwitch, a.k.a. my benefactor. And Herbert goes, wow, that's not what we were expecting. So, in chapter 40, then, they go again and just kind of talk about, Herbert goes, Pip, I'm so sorry. Like, this has got to totally suck. And Pip's like, yeah, it kind of totally sucks. And so they kind of have this conversation and essentially say, Pip's like, well, now I can't take any more of his money because I can't take money from a criminal. Like, I just can't. So Pip decides to stop taking any more of Magwitch's money. And then he also decides that he's going to try to, I don't want to say get rid of Magwitch, but hide Magwitch and keep him hidden and find Magwitch a way out of the country, because he just doesn't think it's safe for Magwitch to be there. All right, so then chapter 41 happens. And in chapter 41, we get Magwitch's story. And this is a really, really important chapter because some more pieces that of other stories that we know kind of start falling into place. And this bigger picture opens up as far as the story goes. So this is really exciting. So I want you to turn to page 176, chapter 41. We're going to read the whole thing. And hopefully by the end of it, your brains will be going, wait, what? And as more pieces kind of fall into place, the bigger picture of this whole shindig comes into play. And hopefully if you haven't liked the story up until this point, you'll really start liking it soon. Okay, chapter 41. Dear Boy and Pip's Comrade. So he calls Pip Boy and Herbert Pip's comrade. Dear Boy and Pip's comrade, I'm not gonna for to tell you my life like a song or a storybook, but to give it to you short and handy. And I'll put it at once into a mouthful of English. In jail, out of jail, in jail, out of jail, in jail, out of jail. There, you got it. That's my life, pretty much, down to such times as I got chipped off after Pip here stood as my friend. When I was a ragged little creature, as much to be pitied as I ever see, I got the name of being hardened. This is a terrible hardened one, they'd say to the prison visitors picking out me. May be said to live in jails, this boy. They always went on again about me about the devil and what the devil was I to do, and I must put something into my stomach, mustn't I? Howsoever, I'm getting low, and I know what's due, dear Boy and Pip's comrade, but you don't be afeard of me being low. Tramping, begging, thieving, working sometimes when I could, though that weren't as often as you may think, till you put the question whether you would have been over ready to give me work yourselves. A bit of a poacher, a bit of a laborer, a bit of a wagoner, a bit of a haymaker, a bit of a hawker, a bit of most things that don't pay and lead to trouble, and I got to be a man. A deserting soldier on traveler's rest, what lay hid in the chin under a lot of taters, learned me to read, and traveling giant that signed his name at a penny a time learned me to write. I weren't locked up as often now as was formerly, but I wore out my good share of the key metal to still. So Magwitch says my entire youth, all the way up until young manhood, I was in and out of jail because I had to eat or I would have starved, so I stole because I had no money. So it was just like this circle. He had to eat, so he stole, and he got in trouble for stealing. He went in jail. He got out of jail, he had to eat, he stole, and it just over and over and over and over again. So his whole life is just really, really sad. And so then he starts talking about one of the situations he got himself in. At Epsom races, a matter of over 20 years ago, I got acquainted with a man whose skull I'd crack with this here poker like a claw of a lobster, if I'd got it on his hob. His right name was Compuson, and that's the man, dear boy, that you seen me pounding in the ditch. Pause. He's about to talk about the second convict from the beginning. He says, Pip, this guy Compuson, that's the guy I was beating the crap out of when you found me in the marshes when you were a kid. So we're about to get the story why Pip's convict / Magwitch hates second convict / Compuson so much. Okay. He set up for a gentleman, this Compeyson, and he'd been to public boarding school and had learning. He was a smooth one to talk and was dab in the ways of gentlefolk. He was good looking, too. Compeyson took me on to be his man and partner. And what was Compeyson's business in which we was to get a partners? Compeyson's business was the swindling, handwriting forging, stolen banknote passing, and such like. All sorts of traps as Compeyson could set with his head and keep his own legs out of and get the profits from and let another man in for. That was Compeyson's business. So Compeyson was a con man. Wait, here comes a cute little boy. Hi, cute little boy.
That's your mother.
Huh? I'm teaching a class.
What?
I know.
Liar.
Well, I know. Can you tell them how sick you are?
I'm really sick.
Yeah. Why are you sick?
Tongue.
Your tongue?
And see?
Yeah, your tongue's orange. That's from the popsicles, so that you could stay hydrated.
My tongue.
Okay, I have to read this story. Will you just chill out here while I read this story to them? Okay, you stay here with Mommy. I'm going to read this story to them, okay? So Compeyson was a con man. He would he would set up these schemes where other people would do all the dirty work. Compeyson would make all the profits, and then if they got caught, the person who was doing the dirty work would be the one who would end up going to jail. Excuse me, you're not helping. I'm going to have to stop this video. Okay. Okay. So, Magwitch gets in with Compeyson to do Compeyson's dirty work. You need to stop. Or you can go upstairs with Daddy. You want to go with Daddy?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go with Daddy. Love you. Sorry. This is what happens when you're at home doing lessons. Okay. I don't have any idea what he's saying. Oh, here we go. Top of page 177. There was another in with Compeyson who was called Arthur. Not as being so christened, but as a surname. Him and Compeyson had been in a bad thing with a rich lady some years before, and they had made a pot of money by it. But Compeyson betted and gamed, and he'd have run through the king's taxes. So Arthur was dying, and dying poor, and with the horrors on him, and Compeyson's wife, which Compeyson kicked mostly, was having pity on him when she could, and Compeyson was having pity on nobody and nothing. I might have took warning from Arthur, but I didn't. And I won't pretend I was particular, for where'd be the good on it, dear boy and comrade? So I begin with Compeyson, and the poor tool I was in his hands. Arthur lived in the top of Compeyson's house, over nigh in Bedford it was, and Compeyson kept a careful account against him for board and lodging in case he ever got better and then could work it out. But Arthur soon settled that account. The second or third time as I ever seen him, he came tearing down to Compeyson's parlor late at night in only a flannel gown, with his hair all in a sweat, and he says to Compeyson's wife, Sally, she's really upstairs along her me now, and I can't get rid of her. She's in all white, he says, with white flowers in her hair, and she's awful mad, and she's got a shroud hanging over her arms, and she says she'll put it on me at 5 in the morning. Oh, wait, here's the other one. Are you going to sit with me, or are you going to go upstairs and get ready for bed? Okay, great. Go head up into bed. I have to finish reading this to my students. Oh, you're going to sit on my lap? Great. Look, here's the other one. Okay.
Can I do one too?
Let's go to bed.
Come on, Daddy's taking you to bed.
I want cereal.
Oh, well, I think you're good for tonight.
I want cereal.
We're going to be right back.